Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest of the OverBoard network of Below Deck podcast. We are back with the greatest iteration of Below Deck with Below Deck Sailing Yacht Season 3. We've got Daisy, we've got Gary, Colin, Glenn, plus a whole new crew that's already creating some chaos. Tonight, we'll cover the episode, give our thoughts on the new crew, go over who won and who lost the episode. Tom. Sean will run through his initial rankings and we'll close out with some listener submitted life advice. As always, you can email us at belowdeckpod@gmail.com to submit some life advice questions you have, and we'll answer it on the show. Let's welcome in my co-host. Well, Sean, candidly, this was my Christmas. This is the day I wait for all year. How excited are you for Sailing Yacht to be back?
So excited. And John, it's amazing how much better the vibes are with Sailing Yacht than with that last season of Legacy, right? Like the show just feels like so much lighter in its feet. There's no like dark cloud hanging over it. Everyone's way less uptight. Did you notice that? Like we're not really dealing with like 2022 America issues and like all of our problems. It's about joy. There's so much joy in the Parsifal, right? Parsifal 3.
Yeah, it was fun. That's what it was, Sean. We had fun this episode. So let's get into it. Let's get the intros right out of the way. Obviously, let's bring back the crew that Sean, you and I fell in love with last year. We've got what I think is the GOAT, Daisy.
Yep. Miss that voice, man. I really miss that voice.
She's already in mid-season form, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She's a blast. I mean, really.
I always think it's so important in Below Deck. Like, if you're the department head, you really set the tone for everything else. So like, Daisy being like, yeah, it's a night out, it's a night off. Let's drink. Gary, let's drink. Like, it just creates a nice vibe rather than like, oh guys, it's a school night. We have things we have to do, or worrying about like this overbearing captain coming out and like being disappointed in you guys. Like, that's not what we have here. I know we saw a little bit of that from Glenn in this episode, but overall, these guys are here to have a good time. But like, listen, I know every HR rep has said it, but like, they work hard and they play hard, Yeah.
Every time Glenn says this is school night, it's just like, it's never a school night. No never treats it that way. Yeah. Like, but yeah, no, Daisy, you're right. Yeah. Okay. As far as like the vibes, because I mentioned like the vibes are important to me. She helps so much. She contributes so much to the vibes being good.
Yeah.
And she's just cool too. Like I really missed her. I really missed that accent, man.
Yeah. But good to have her back. Obviously, she's going to be like the focal point of, probably our recaps here for the next 13 weeks. She's a GOAT as far as I'm concerned.
Pro Daisy podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. Sean, we've also got Gary back, obviously. Here's the thing about Gary. Season 3, Gary thinks he's better than season 2, Gary. It's the same guy.
Same guy. I like how he's already on the boat because he works full-time for Glenn. Yeah. I like that. I like how they're friends. He kind of had a good episode though.
You did.
He got a great edit, maybe, or just we'll get to it later. I don't want to spoil the rest of the show, but you know what? He looks good, and maybe he's a little better. I don't know. I think and Spirit is the same guy, but he had a good episode though.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think a lot of people had a good episode here.
And John, I was gonna say we finally figured out two things about him. We thought he was from South Africa. He confirmed it.
Yep.
And we had no idea how old he was last year. Only 33 and a half.
Yeah, the dude's been like ridden hard and put away wet though. Like he's a season 32, right?
Or 33 and a half.
33.
Yeah. Look, I candidly thought he was like in his early 40s last year. No shame to anyone who's in their early 40s. I'm in my late 30s, but Gary looks quite a bit older than me.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like you said, the life of the sea, and hey, he's making it work for himself though. We'll get to that later, but yeah.
Yeah. And so we've got the other half of this bromance. We've got Colin coming back. Here's the thing I can't figure out with this guy. He's just a girlfriend guy, right?
disappointing too, because I would love to see him in action. He's the only person on the boat who's in a relationship, right? Unless the chef is.
I'm not sure yet, but I know Colin is a different girlfriend than last year.
Yeah. Yeah, Jen, I knew how much I miss Daisy and Gary. Really forgot how much I miss Colin too. Like having him around is just awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just hit him and Gary together is just always a blast. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish he was. I would love to see him, Gary, and new guy Tom kind of compete for some of the girls. But
I mean, that just seems a recipe for success for the show. I like I like Colin because he's always like, man, Gary, how do you get? You got to stop getting yourself in these pickles. But then he also loves hearing about the pickles that he gets himself into. So,
oh yeah.
Colin's he's more than a bystander when it comes to like the drama a little bit. But great to have him back. And then obviously, Sean, we've got Captain Glenn back for another season. I don't know if he's maybe a little bit more authoritative this year, but he stopped a school night a little early. So I don't know if this is a sign of things to come, or maybe this was just a one-off.
I think it's a one-off. Yeah. And like Captain Lee would have like stern voice, like shut that down. Glenn is happy to be this kind of substitute teacher or the players coach. I don't think he's going to change that. He's a big part of the vibe too. Like the whole like fun vibe. Glenn's kind of a part of it.
Well, he contributes to it because if he was going to rule with an iron fist, then like Daisy can't be who she wants to be and Gary can't be who he wants to be. So like it's a perfect. These four are just a core. I don't know how many more seasons we're going to get of all four of them. This might be it. That'd be the saddest thing in the world. But I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this season 3 with this core cast here. So, Sean, let's get into the new cast a little bit. Overall, I kind of like what I'm seeing so far.
Same.
So let's start with Ashley. I feel like she was she was probably the focal point of the episode. Sean, I got to ask you a question. Is Ashley this season Sydney?
Yeah. So far, yes. So, John, my first comment on Ashley, I wrote this down while I was watching the episode. She looks to me like every Gen Z influencer. Like any like person in their early 20s or late teens who's like a YouTuber, in my head looks like Ashley. I don't know why, or she just looks like all of them.
Is this when you log on TikTok, Sean?
Yeah, like any person where I'm like, oh, I'm too old to know who this famous person is. Yeah. In my head, they all look like Ashley. She's kind of a star, though. You're right. I know the episode was named after Tom. Was it called Tomfoolery?
Yeah,
it was called Tomfoolery, but Ashley was a star. A lot of Sydney vibes there, but a few other different things I like too. I like she was surprised she was named Second Stew. Like I just like some of that stuff. She's got a lot going on.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. She has like 1 year experience on boats. But Sean, I think she's just going to be trouble for these boys this season.
Yes.
I've never heard anyone answer the question, what's your type, with both of you guys. That's exactly what she said. Like essentially what she said. Like Gary's like, oh, what's your type? Obviously it's a leading question. She was saying in front of 2 guys and she just goes, oh, both of you guys are my type. Like that's cause for trouble, right?
But one of those girls where if a guy's her the exact same age as her, she thinks she's 10 years older than him.
Yeah.
You're 23. I would never date you because I'm also 23.
He's too young, wild. Right? He's too young. Yeah.
I'm 3 days older than you. So like our life experiences are way different right now.
Yeah. We're not even in the same space. We're not in the same space.
She's a star though. Yeah.
There was one point where she was like in the interview and she's like, I know what I'm doing. I think like talking about like trying to like hook up with Gary. And I was like, actually, I don't know if you do. Like, you're like 23, right? I think these just seem like famous last words.
She was aggressive too. So Sydney wasn't like so much aggressive. Well, no, actually, that's not true. Sydney was.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
like the same person.
Sydney was like a little, I don't know. There's a little bit more like Terminator vibe with Sydney, whereas like nothing's gonna stop her. Where Ashley seems a little bit more normal.
Yeah.
But we
I
just
will
met
say
her though.
this. I think Ashley is the front leader for villain of the season. I know we used to discuss villain of the season. I think the last couple seasons it's been a little easier to spot it, but this is like a fun villain of the season, right?
Oh yeah.
So she's got the front runner. She's treating this episode alone like it was a sprint when this season's a marathon.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she did so much.
Yeah. Sean, there was one point where so obviously, I mean, we're bearing the lead here. So Ashley and Gary make out, right? Hook up. And I love when Gary goes back to tell Colin after, and he's just like, I don't know how these things happen to me. Like, Gary's a very like trouble finds me kind of guy. And sure enough, Ashley shows up right on time.
I can't believe they already made out. Yeah. Cause that wasn't even like a night off. That wasn't even like an official deck party. That was the night before charter.
Let's just talk about this deck party. We're going to get into Tom next. Actually, let's just get into Tom, right?
Okay.
All right. So Tom had a tough time here, right? So first he gets bunked with Captain. You never want to be at that spot. Jean-Luc had it in the last season, and he ended up spending most of the time with Danny in the guest quarters anyway. But guys drinking, Colin's like, oh, this is a younger me, gets too drunk, tries to go to bed, gets sick, throws up in the bathroom where he's already sharing a room with the captain. A tough look for Tom. I think if you bought his stock at the beginning of the episode, I'm just hoping you sold it before he killed everyone's night. And Captain Glenn came out and was like, guys, we're done.
Yes. So, Jen, I have a couple of things on Tom, though. Or more about the room setup. So, Gary works for Glenn full time, right? Yep. There's 5 guys. There's a 3-bedroom room and a 2-bedroom room, or 2 like bedroom. Why wouldn't Gary just stay with Captain Glenn? And it's like, well, he wants to have a blast, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to get any trouble. Why doesn't he have like Marcos, who just seems like an adult, stay with Glenn? Like, why is Glenn stuck with the greenest deckhand in his room? I think 2 years in a row it happened.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the status quo, though, right? Like the rule is you don't really want to room with the captain, even if it's somebody who's like as easygoing as Glenn. You still don't want to room with the captain, and so the young guy just always draws the short straw.
But I feel like Glenn's drawing the short straw. Like, could you imagine like Captain Lee is like rooming with Jean-Luc or Tom?
Yeah, so that's a question I had. Like, when they were building this boat, they obviously built it out to think that they were going to have less hands, or like, I just don't know how they do it. I don't think any captain wants to share with a green deckhand, but this is sailing yacht and anything goes.
Like Gary stacked the deck. He kind of sabotages Tom too, because when Ashley finds out that Tom is living with Captain, she's like, oh, like, I wouldn't want to hook up in your bed. That'd be a turnoff.
Yeah.
I don't know if Gary was anticipating this. I don't know. It was very smart.
Sean, I'll say this. There was one point where Tom's like, oh, I like Ashley. And Ashley said she likes Tom. I mean, that's just a green light for Gary to go after it, right?
100%. But John, as far as like Tom, he's having a great time at the deck party. Yeah. And he seemed cool. Like people were liking him. He was having some good conversations with people. I love when he found out that Ashley was kind of into him. He does like a nice little shrug, but yeah, I like how Glenn wanted no part of him being sick.
No,
he was like,
because he knew it was from the guy just drinking too much. Like, it's not like, oh, are you seasick? It's like, all right, this freaking kid comes on first night, starts drinking, drinks too much. Like, it's not a good look for Tom, but to some degree, it's also not the best look for his superiors, right?
No, Glenn's just like, what's your plan? Like you're ruining I got my iPad time here, guy.
Yeah.
Like stop ruining it.